All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Todd McShay just did a quick mock draft, right? It wasn't one of these things where it's, a 7 round or anything, but it was kind of a quick on the spot mock. And with the New York Jets selection, he had them going with defensive tackle from Clemson, Peter Woods. I freaking love Peter Woods. Right now, I know on the surface, people might look at the stats and be like, okay, well, he's not putting up these crazy sack numbers. He's not, filling out the stat sheet like crazy, tons and tons of tackles. But personally, when I watch Peter Woods, I am very impressed, right? Whether it's this season, last season, I mean, he had playing time back in 2023. I feel like Peter Woods is actually a high floor player. I think he could fit in a 4-3 defense, exactly what the Jets run. I think he could fit in a 3-4. I think he could bounce around the the inside of the defensive line. If you take a look at Peter Woods is going to blow up the combine. And by the way, Woods actually just declared for the draft, I want to say 3 days ago, but when he gets to the combine, if he does all the, different drills, and maybe not all of them, but that is real. I mean, he's already projected to go top 10 as it is, but I'm talking stuff like vertical jump. I'm talking 40. I'm talking bench press. Like, he's going to be putting up some pretty, or at least the projection is he's going to be putting up some pretty freakish numbers when it comes to the athletic testing. Now, you could have, of course, argue, okay, well, if the stats aren't really there, but the athletic profile is there, is this, different position here, but is it something like, or somebody like Shamar Stewart all over again? I don't think so, right? Defensive tackle and edge, two separate positions here. When you're watching Peter Woods, he does a lot of the dirty work. I think he stops the run really well. I think he does a good job of just neutralizing those guys at the line of scrimmage. I think he could take on double teams. And I think he's going to be someone that's dangerous to just consistently leave one-on-one with a guard or center all game. Because eventually he's going to find his way into the backfield to wrap guys up for tackles of loss. And the Jets clearly need help at defensive tackle. With the loss of not only just a lot of the guys that we brought in on 1-year deals, but also Quentin Williams. I think we need one. As much as I love Harrison Phillips, as much as I love Juwan Briggs, we need more talent there. At least one more player, preferably two. But that second option you can just bring in as a veteran free agent, maybe a 1 or 2 year contract, kind of like what the Jets did initially before all these injuries. But if you add Peter Woods to the inside of this defensive line, yeah, it's going to be boosted. Ironically enough, Peter Woods' pro comparison is Quentin Williams. So I do like the fit. I think he will fit the defense. I think he will fit the Aaron Glenn kind of mindset. And I think even though and look, another thing too, it's like, again, on the surface, Woods only has 3 sacks in a year. Here's an argument, right? It's but no disrespect to Clemson, no disrespect to Dabo Swinney, I don't want it to come across the wrong way, but there has been a lot of people that have looked at Clemson this season and have asked the question, why aren't these guys producing at a higher level when it comes to stats? There's another player on that Clemson defensive line by the name of TJ Parker, who's an edge rusher. TJ Parker, coming into the year, was projected to go top 5, top 10. A safe player. Again, he can fit in a 4-3 as like a traditional D end, or he can even be a stand-up rusher. Very, very good edge setter. Very good against stopping the run. Upside as a pass rusher. Violent when he gets his hands on the quarterback. Just a heavy-handed individual. And his numbers, or like if you look at a mock draft today, he's down in like the early 20s or mid-teens, 13 to 23. A lot of mocks that I see nowadays, it has the Lions going with TJ Parker again in the 20s. And it's like, he didn't get smaller. He didn't lose any sort of athleticism. He was out there playing. He received more experience and more reps. He's not getting worse as a player, but it's just like those overall numbers aren't just popping off popping off of the screen, right? From a box score standpoint. You can say the same thing with Cade Klubnik. You look at Cade. If you rewind a couple of months, 3 months ago, all of these guys had Cade Klubnik as a first-round pick. Some had Cade Klubnik as the first overall pick. And his numbers were nowhere close to last year. Yeah, he didn't play in 3-4 games compared to last year, but that's not going to make up for almost 1,000 passing yards and 10 passing touchdowns. So Cade Klubnik, that was another guy, 5-star quarterback. And by the way, Cade is a prospect, right? Former 5-star guy. Where did he play? Southlake or Westlake? One of the two out in Texas. He was going up against some good competition out there as a high school player, going up against Quinn Ewers and whatnot back in those high school days. He comes to Clemson as a freaking highly ranked guy, a highly talked about individual, someone who is set to make the NFL. It's just like, let's just breeze through college here. And keep in mind, Cade Klubnik has been in school for 4 years. And everybody's just kind of waiting, okay, when are we going to see that elite step go from good to fantastic? And it just, again, Cade Klubnik, very good player, arm strength, great deep ball accuracy. You feel like he has good touch on the deep ball, can really put a lot of air and kind of arc it deep like Russell Wilson, right back in those Seattle Seahawks days, where he could just freaking let it fly and it just looks so perfectly thrown where the wide receivers just run right underneath the ball. From a mechanic standpoint, from an ability to hang in the pocket, he has enough mobility to extend plays, keep it on read options. I would say an above average arm. And again, a lot of experience. Like Cade Klubnik, the prospect, I'm not going to completely write him off. But if you just purely look at the box score, you could be asking, okay, well, what's not, like, something is not adding up here. He's at Clemson. He's surrounded by talent. He's a 5-star guy. He has experience. Why aren't the numbers better? So Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Cade Klubnik, and look, Clemson, just calling it like it is, it was a disappointing season. In an ACC where, Belichick's North Carolina team never really got off the ground all that much. Florida State was a complete and utter mess. Credit Georgia Tech, credit Louisville, credit Miami. Just somewhat of a mediocre season from, Dave Dorn and NC State. Wake Forest kind of in that same mold. Manny Diaz and Duke, obviously, they won the whole thing, and obviously Virginia as well. But the ACC this season was wide open. The projection was Miami Clemson in the championship game. Neither got there. And it's not like, oh, Clemson just had this one devastating loss. No, they lost 5 times. They start off the season horribly, right? Getting blown out, losing to Syracuse early on. Like, it was, Clemson just had a ton of problems. And I think really right now, there's this optic around Clemson of guys are not developing at the fastest rate there. And although results are good, it's not up to the recent Clemson standard. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, even going back to like those Taj Boyd, the Boyd era, right? Martavis Bryant, Sammy Watkins, these guys, it's not up to that level. And I think a lot of people are just, in college football circles, you kind of feel like Dabo's name gets floated out. Like when a big Southeastern job opens up, it's like, could Dabo leave? Could he leave? It's a question that's being thrown out. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But regardless, I think Peter Woods translates well. I want to end the video off on this. My buddy Alex, who covers the draft, he says he it's not necessarily a quote, but something that he says all the time is, stats don't translate to the NFL. If that was the case, Case Keenum would be an all-time great. What translates? Skill set, pros and cons, and system fit. If you have 15 sacks in college, but it doesn't matter who you're playing against, it doesn't matter how you're getting them, that's not necessarily just going to shoot right over to the draft. Ideally, you want your first-round picks to have, these big-time stat numbers, but it doesn't happen in every case. Sometimes it's about the projection. What can this player be? And quite frankly, I think Peter Woods is very, very good, very, very talented right now. An explosive, disruptive, run-stuffing defensive tackle that I still feel like can get a lot better, man. He's 21 years old. I'm not going to write off a guy in Peter freaking Woods because he didn't put up over 5 sacks at the defensive tackle position. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. I love Peter Woods. I do. I think he's going to be a really solid NFL player. So, and also for context, Dante Moore was gone. Fernando Mendoza was gone. He had the Cleveland Browns going with Mendoza at spot number 1. So it's not like we passed on like a ton of different quarterbacks here and we're just, going all in with Woods. It was kind of just stick and pick. But yeah, anyway, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. And as always, go Jets.